Welcome in, everybody. It's
Yeah.
time to deep dive. Today, we are looking at a plan for a show called Heartbeat, Human Connections.
Oh, wow.
And it is chock full of just inspiring stories about people being kind to each other all over the world.
Interesting.
It really does warm your heart to read through this stuff.
Yeah.
10 stories.
Wow.
That's what they have planned.
That's a lot of kindness to get through.
It is a lot of kindness.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can do it justice.
Yeah.
So they start out with a countdown segment,
Okay.
which kind of highlights acts of kindness, but, going from number 10
Great.
down to number 6.
Gotcha.
So some of these are so creative.
Oh,
Like, there's one called Art of Recovery that takes place in London,
okay.
and it's basically a bunch of artists got together,
Okay.
and they decided to brighten up a children's hospital ward
Wow.
by painting murals.
That's really cool.
Can you imagine, like, being in a hospital as a kid,
Yeah.
which is already kind of a scary place?
Right.
And then instead of just, like, boring white walls,
Right.
you're surrounded by this, like, incredible art.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It kind of changes the whole vibe of the space.
Totally. Like, it makes it feel more hopeful,
Right.
more positive. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
less sterile.
It makes you think, like, what other places could use a little dose of art and kindness?
That is such a good point.
Like, what if we thought outside the box a little bit more?
Yeah.
And used art to spread kindness in other areas of our lives, like
Mhm.
maybe our workplaces or schools or even just our own neighborhoods.
That's a really great idea.
Right.
Like, imagine if every, like, drab bus stop
Yeah.
was turned into, like, a little mini mural.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
That's a great idea.
And then there's this other one called School's Secret Santa, which takes place in Texas.
Oh, fun.
And for this one, a bunch of teachers,
Okay.
they secretly filled their students' backpacks with holiday gifts to make sure that, every kid felt the Christmas spirit.
That's so sweet.
I mean, who doesn't love a Secret Santa?
Yeah. Especially when it's from someone who, cares about you, like your teacher.
Right. And it's not even about the gifts themselves, It's
It's
about the thought behind it.
Yeah.
It's about making those kids feel seen and valued and like they're part of something special.
Yes. That's such a good point.
Like someone went out of their way to do something nice for them.
It's that feeling of like being remembered,
Easy to-
and cared for.
Exactly.
Which is so important, especially around the holidays.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's this one called Neighborhood Watch, but it's not what you think.
Oh, what is it?
So this takes place in California,
Okay.
and there was this neighborhood that organized like a watch group,
Okay.
but it wasn't for crime.
Interesting.
It was to make sure that their elderly neighbors
Oh.
were staying warm
Okay.
during a cold spell.
Oh.
So they were making sure that they had enough blankets and food and that their heat was working.
That is so heartwarming.
Isn't that great? Like,
Yeah.
it's such a simple thing.
But it makes such a big difference.
Yeah. And it's so unexpected,
Right.
Like, you think of a neighborhood watch and you think of, people looking out for suspicious activity.
Yeah, crime and safety and stuff.
Exactly. But this is like a neighborhood watch for kindness.
Right. That's what I love about it.
It's like they're redefining what it means to watch out for each other.
Exactly.
And it shows that, community can be about so much more than just, keeping our streets safe.
It could be about taking care of each other
Exactly.
and showing compassion and just like being good neighbors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So simple, but so powerful.
So powerful.
Yeah.
And speaking of powerful stories,
Yes.
let's move on to the top 5 segment,
Okay.
which is where the plan kind of dives deep into some incredible acts of kindness.
I'm ready.
And these are the ones that they've chosen to highlight in detail.
Okay.
The ones that really exemplify like the power of human connection.
Got it.
And they come from all over the world,
Cool.
which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
Because it shows that kindness really transcends borders and cultures.
Absolutely. It's a universal language.
Totally.
Yeah.
So one of the stories is called The Marathon Helper.
Okay.
And this takes place in Boston during the Boston Marathon.
Gotcha.
And what happened was there were several runners
Bruh.
who were participating in the marathon, and they stopped.
They stopped.
Yeah, to help an elderly woman who had fallen.
Wow. During the race?
During the race. Like, they stopped running their race
Wow.
to help her.
That's incredible.
Yeah. They made sure she was okay,
Wow.
even though it meant, like, sacrificing their own race time.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about putting others before yourself.
Right. Like, they had trained for months, probably, for this marathon.
Right, exactly.
And they were like, you know what?
It's more important to help this person.
This person needs me more than I need to finish this race right now.
That's amazing.
And actually,
Yeah.
the plan includes a quote from one of the runners.
Oh, really?
He said, it wasn't about the race anymore.
What?
It was about being there for someone.
That's powerful.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And it really makes you think, like, what are our priorities? You know?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
really important in life?
Totally. Like, in that moment, their whole perspective shifted.
Right.
From personal achievement to something much bigger.
Yeah, it was about, like, human connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Compassion, empathy.
Exactly. And then there's a story called The Silent Library,
What?
which is in Tokyo.
Okay.
And it was specifically designed for children with autism.
Oh, wow.
So they created this space
Okay.
that is, like, quiet
Mm-hmm.
and sensory friendly,
Okay.
so that kids who might feel overwhelmed
Right.
in a typical library
Yeah.
can relax
Yeah.
and actually enjoy, like, reading books.
That's so thoughtful.
Yeah.
Like, they really considered the needs of these children.
Right. And the library's founder said something that I thought was really beautiful. She said, here, every child can find their own world of peace. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And it just shows that kindness can be about, like, creating spaces
Right.
where everyone feels welcome and supported.
Absolutely.
And then there's this story called The Heroic Teacher,
Okay.
which takes place in Australia.
Okay.
And this teacher,
Okay.
she used her own money
Oh, wow.
to buy new shoes for all of her students.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, she went above and beyond.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, you know, it would have been easy for her to just focus on teaching the curriculum.
Right.
But she recognized that something as basic as footwear
Yeah.
could impact her students' ability to learn
Absolutely.
and feel confident.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like meeting their basic needs before you can even begin to teach them.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the plan includes a quote from the teacher.
Oh, really?
And she says, education should not be hindered by what's on one's feet.
That's a great quote.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about her commitment to her students, you know?
Oh.
Like, she truly cares about their well-being.
And it makes me think about how sometimes kindness is about paying attention to those little things.
Yes.
The details that we might overlook.
Right.
But that can actually make a huge difference in someone's life.
Yeah, like she saw a need and she addressed it.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Right.
But so profound.
So profound.
Yeah.
And what's so striking to me is that all of these stories,
Yeah.
despite being from different parts of the world
Right.
and involving, like, totally different types of actions,
Yeah.
they all share a common thread,
What's that?
which is that they're all about recognizing a need
Okay.
and taking action to meet it,
Mm.
whether it's big or small.
I like that.
Yeah,
It's about putting empathy into action.
totally.
You know?
It's about seeing the world through someone else's eyes
Right.
and responding with kindness.
Love it.
And that brings us to this thing called the #kindness challenge,
Oh, yeah.
which is highlighted in the show plan.
I've heard of that.
Have you heard of this?
Yeah.
It's basically this movement
Yeah.
that encourages people to perform 3 acts of kindness
Okay.
and then share their stories online
Cool.
and tag other people to
Yeah.
join in.
I love that.
So it's like this ripple effect
Right.
of kindness,
Spreading the love.
spreading the love, exactly.
Yeah.
And the plan even includes an example
Oh, cool.
from one of their viewers
Okay.
who participated in the challenge.
Mm.
And basically, this viewer helped their neighbor fix their car.
Okay.
And it ended up sparking a new friendship.
Oh, that's so nice.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
And it just shows how even the smallest acts of kindness
Right.
can have these ripple effects.
Yeah, totally.
You know, creating unexpected connections
Absolutely.
and deepening relationships.
Yeah. It's like that saying, what goes around comes around.
Exactly,
Right.
but in like a positive way.
Exactly.
Right.
Paying it forward.
Yes.
And then reaping the benefits down the line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And speaking of creating connections,
Yes.
there's one more story in the top 5 that I think we should definitely touch on.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's called The Music of Unity.
Oh, wow.
Have you read out this one?
I don't think so.
So it's about this group of musicians
Okay.
from a war-torn region
Wow.
who came together to play a concert.
Okay.
And they used music as a way to, like, bridge divides
Wow.
and promote peace.
That's beautiful. Like
Yeah.
using music as a tool for healing.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful reminder that even amidst all the conflict and division,
Right.
there's always potential for unity and understanding. If
Absolutely.
we can just find those common threads that connect us.
Right. And music is such a powerful connector.
Totally.
It transcends language and culture.
It does.
Yeah,
It speaks to something deeper within us.
for sure.
And, the plan actually includes a quote
Oh, really?
from one of the musicians
Okay.
who said, "Music doesn't know borders or conflict. It only knows harmony."
That is beautiful.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's like music is its own language of peace.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it just shows the power of art to transcend differences
Right.
and touch our hearts in a way that words sometimes can't.
Absolutely. And I think it's a reminder that kindness can take many forms, you know?
Yeah.
It's not just about, doing nice things for people. It can
Oh.
also be about expressing ourselves creatively
Yes.
and using our talents to make the world a more beautiful and harmonious place.
That is such a good point.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about how we can all find ways to express our own unique form of kindness,
Right.
whether it's through music or art or writing
Yeah.
or just simple acts of everyday compassion.
Exactly.
Like holding the door open for someone
Yeah.
or offering a helping hand
Right.
or just listening with an open heart.
Absolutely. Those little things can make a big difference.
They really can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how about we take a quick break? And then when we come back, we'll dive into some more of these incredible stories of kindness from around the world.
Sounds great to me.
You know what's so interesting about these stories?
What's that?
It's like they all involve the shift in perspective,
Oh.
where someone chooses to see beyond their own needs
Right.
and recognize the needs of another person. Think about those marathon runners,
Mhm.
in that moment, their whole focus shifted
Right.
from their personal goal of winning the race
Right.
to the well-being of this stranger.
Wow.
It's like their world expanded to encompass a larger sense of humanity.
It's like they tapped into something bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just in these dramatic situations,
No.
even in everyday life. Choosing kindness often involves stepping outside of our own little bubble.
Right.
And, recognizing the needs of those around us.
It's about expanding our circle of concern
Exactly.
to include, not just ourselves,
Right.
but our families, our communities, even strangers we encounter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what's so inspiring about these stories.
Totally.
They remind us that we're all interconnected
Mhm.
and that even small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect,
Right.
creating a more compassionate and connected world.
It's like each act of kindness is a thread
Oh, like that.
that helps to weave together
Yeah.
this beautiful tapestry of human experience.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Oh, thanks.
And it makes me think about the concept of Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Yeah.
I've heard that term before,
Yeah.
but I don't really know what it means.
So it's a Nguni Bantu term
Okay.
from southern Africa.
Okay.
And essentially it means humanity towards others.
Mm.
It's the understanding that we are all bound together
Okay.
and that our individual well-being is inextricably linked to the well-being of those around us.
So it's like we're all in this together.
Exactly. We are all connected.
Yeah.
And when one person suffers, we all suffer. And when one person thrives,
We all thrive.
we all thrive. Exactly. And that's what these kindness stories are all about.
They're about recognizing that interconnectedness
Exactly.
and acting accordingly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of acting accordingly,
Yes.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Blanket of Love story from Canada.
Oh, yeah. That one was so heartwarming.
The one where the community came together
Yeah.
to knit blankets.
Right. For homeless individuals
Exactly.
during a really harsh winter.
It was minus 20 degrees
Wow.
or something crazy like that.
Brr.
Yeah.
Such a simple act,
Right.
but so impactful.
It's not just about providing warmth.
Right.
It's about sending a message
Of care.
of care. Exactly. And
Yeah.
solidarity.
To those who are often, marginalized and overlooked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the plan includes a quote from one of the volunteers
Oh, really?
who said, "Each stitch is a message of love."
Oh.
Isn't that sweet?
It is. It's like they're literally weaving love and compassion
Exactly.
into each blanket.
And it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
what other everyday items could we infuse with that kind of intentionality and care?
That's such a good question.
Right.
Maybe it's about finding ways to turn
Yeah.
even the most mundane tasks
Right.
into opportunities for kindness.
I love that idea.
Yeah, me too.
And as we're talking about these stories, I'm struck by how they seem to evoke
Oh, what's that?
a sense of hope,
Oh, yeah.
even in the face of adversity.
It's true.
They remind us that even in a world
Yeah.
that can sometimes feel dark and divided,
Mm-hmm.
there are still people out there
Right.
who are choosing to spread light and love.
Yeah, and that gives me so much hope.
Me too.
Yeah.
It makes me believe that we can create a better world,
Yeah.
one act of kindness at a time.
I agree. It's like a ripple effect.
Right.
Starting with one person
Yeah.
and then spreading outwards.
Exactly.
And it makes me think about the power of stories
Oh, yeah.
to inspire and uplift us.
Stories are so powerful. They have this ability to transport us to different places,
Right.
introduce us to new perspectives, and
Mhm.
touch our hearts in a way that, like,
Yeah.
facts and figures often can't.
Totally.
And these stories of kindness in particular,
Yeah.
they have a way of reminding us
Right.
of the inherent goodness
Yeah.
that exists in humanity.
That's such a good point. And it's a message
Right.
that we all need to hear,
Yeah.
especially in times like these.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're not alone,
Right.
that we're all part of a larger human family,
Yeah.
and that together
We can make a difference.
we can make a difference. Exactly.
And speaking of making a difference,
yes.
the show plan also highlights the importance
Mm-hmm.
of recognizing and appreciating the kindness we receive,
Oh, that's such an important point.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we often focus on being kind to others.
Right.
But it's equally important
Absolutely.
to acknowledge the kindness that's been extended to us.
Because kindness is a two-way street.
It is.
It's about giving and receiving.
Supporting and being supported.
Exactly.
Right.
And by recognizing and appreciating the kindness we receive,
Right.
we create a more virtuous cycle of compassion
Totally.
in the world. And it makes me think about
Yeah.
how often we take kindness for granted,
Oh, yeah.
those small acts of generosity and care
Exactly.
that we might not even notice
Right.
in the hustle and bustle of daily life.
Totally.
You're so right.
Yeah.
So maybe we should all make a conscious effort
I agree.
to pay attention to the kindness around us, to
Yeah.
express our gratitude.
To those who have touched our lives
Exactly.
in positive ways.
Because when we acknowledge kindness,
Yeah.
we not only uplift the giver,
Right.
but we also open ourselves up
to receive more of it.
to receive more of it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to a question that I think is worth pondering.
Okay. Say it.
If kindness is so beneficial, both for the giver and the receiver,
Yeah.
why aren't we doing more of it?
That's a great question. I think there are probably many reasons.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get caught up in our own lives
Right.
and forget to look outward.
Right.
Or maybe we're afraid of being taken advantage of.
Mm.
Or we're simply not sure how to be kind
Right.
in a way that feels genuine and authentic.
Those are all valid points.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that
Yeah.
kindness can be challenging at times.
Right.
Requires effort,
It does.
intentionality,
Yeah.
and sometimes even courage.
You're right.
But I also think it's important to remember
Yeah.
that we all have the capacity for kindness within us. It's
Yeah.
part of our human nature.
Absolutely.
And I think the more we practice it, the more natural it becomes.
It becomes a habit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a muscle
Oh, like that.
that gets stronger with use.
I love that analogy.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe the key is to start small,
Okay.
to find ways to incorporate kindness into our daily routine.
Even in the simplest of ways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about
What are you thinking about?
how our world would be different
Right.
if we all approached each day
Mm.
with the intention of being
Okay.
a little kinder,
Right.
a little more compassionate,
Yeah.
a little more generous with
Okay.
our time and energy.
Wow, that's a super powerful question.
Right.
And it's one that I think is worth pondering deeply.
Yeah.
Like, what would a world look like
Right.
where kindness was the default setting
Exactly.
rather than the exception?
It's a beautiful thought.
It is a beautiful thought.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that we can all strive for,
Absolutely.
in our own lives.
And ultimately,
Yeah.
the choice to be kind
Right.
is a choice we make every single day. And it's in those seemingly small choices
Right.
that we have the power to shape not only our own lives,
Right.
but also the lives of those around us.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
And what's interesting? It seems like kindness often has a ripple effect.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
When we witness an act of kindness,
Right.
it inspires us to do the same.
Totally.
It's like a positive feedback loop
Yeah.
spreading from person to person, community to community, and ultimately throughout the world.
That makes me think about the story we talked about earlier,
Which one?
where the viewer helped their neighbor fix their car.
Oh, yeah.
And it sparked this new friendship.
Right.
It's like that one act of kindness created a ripple
Totally.
that extended far beyond
Yeah.
the initial interaction.
It's amazing how these things happen, right?
It is amazing.
Yeah. Have you ever noticed
Yeah.
how when you put kindness out into the world,
Mm-hmm.
it often seems to find its way back to you?
All the time.
It's like there's this universal law
Right.
of reciprocity at play when
Yeah.
it comes to kindness.
It's so true.
You get what you give.
Exactly.
And it might not always be immediate or direct,
Right.
but the energy we put out into the world, it tends to return to us
It does.
in some form or another.
That's a reassuring thought.
It is reassuring.
Yeah, and it makes me think about something we talked about earlier,
What's that?
about how kindness can involve a shift in perspective.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of viewing kindness as an obligation
Right.
or a chore,
Mm-hmm.
what if we saw it as an opportunity?
I love that.
Right.
Yeah, an opportunity for what?
An opportunity to connect with others,
Yes.
to brighten someone's day,
Mm-hmm.
to make a positive difference in the world,
Right.
and ultimately to enrich our own lives.
That's beautiful. I love that.
It's about shifting our perspective
Yes.
from burden to blessing,
Exactly.
from duty to delight.
I love that.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
It does. And it makes me wonder if we all embrace that perspective.
Right.
How much brighter and more joyful would our world become?
That is the question, isn't it?
It is the question.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive into kindness.
Oh.
It has been such a pleasure exploring these stories with you.
Likewise.
And I hope that our listeners are feeling inspired
Yeah.
to go out and
Go
spread a little
further.
kindness of their own.
Spread the love, people.
Spread the love, exactly.
Yeah.
So until next time,
Be kind.
stay kind, everybody.
Yeah.